You know how when you look in a mirror, you don't actually see yourself? Like you see the pose?
Right, the angle. The one
Yeah,
you've practiced since you were, what, a teenager?
exactly. The slight posture adjustment, the practiced half smile.
Yeah, the subtle ways we just automatically pull our stomachs in or tilt our chins up a bit.
Right. We edit in real time. But because we only want to see the version of ourselves that we've already decided is acceptable.
We do it so constantly.
So constantly.
Yeah.
Like we don't even realize we're putting on a show for an audience of one.
I mean, we get so incredibly used to that curated reflection, we actually start to believe it's the unvarnished truth. The filter basically becomes our reality.
Yeah.
We completely forget that the person staring back is just a carefully managed projection.
But imagine if, just one day, you look in that mirror and the filter was just gone.
Oh, wow.
No pose, no adjusted lighting, just the raw, undeniable reality of who you are and, honestly, more importantly, why you do what you do.
That is a terrifying thought.
Would you even recognize that person? Would you even want to?
I mean, seeing the absolute truth of our own motivations, it would just completely shatter that illusion of control we work so hard to maintain.
And that absolute shattering of illusion is exactly what we are diving into today. So, welcome to the deep dive.
Glad to be here.
We are on a mission today to explore a truly fascinating question for you all. What actually happens when the comforting illusions we use to survive are just suddenly stripped away? Not just in our own minds, but like on a massive citywide scale.
And we have an incredibly unique set of sources to help us unpack this today. They come from a creator known as Tarot by Haisida, focusing on their material specifically for June 17th, 2026.
Yeah, we're looking at two connected pieces today. First is a raw astrological forecast detailing a highly intense cosmic transit. It's called Venus opposite Pluto.
A heavy one.
Very heavy. And the second piece is a sci-fi short story, a StoryScope titled The Cathedral of Mirrors. And it basically takes those exact abstract astrological themes from the forecast and dramatizes them into this gripping futuristic reality.
It's such a cool concept. I think we should start by looking at the cosmic pressure cooker first. The raw data of this transit, and then step directly into the physical world it inspires.
Sounds like a plan.
Oh.
So let's unpack the astrology. The forecast for Venus opposite Pluto, it describes a period of just absolute emotional honesty and erotic intensity.
Right.
It's all about looking beneath the surface and sparking transformation at the core of our being. But to really understand this, we probably need to know what an opposition actually means in this context.
Yeah, so think of an opposition as a literal 180-degree tug of war across the solar system.
Okay.
You have two celestial bodies staring each other down from opposite ends of the sky. So there is nowhere to hide.
Wow.
They are pulling in completely opposite directions, and you are caught right in the middle of that tension.
And the two bodies pulling on us here are major heavy hitters. I mean, you've got Venus on one side representing what we value, our desires, aesthetics, how we connect with others.
Yeah.
And pulling hard from the other side is Pluto, which is the planet of the underworld, power dynamics, control, and basically everything buried in the shadow.
Exactly. And when you stretch human psychology between those two extremes, you get a highly volatile mix. I mean, Venus wants comfort and connection, right?
Right.
But Pluto demands total exposure and transformation. So the forecast points out that this transit intensifies desire to the point where attraction can become, like, obsessive.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it exposes power dynamics, it brings up all those buried feelings, trust issues, jealousy, possessiveness.
It's basically like holding a giant magnifying glass over your romantic and financial life while standing in the middle of a desert in the midday sun.
That's a great way to put it.
Like, things are going to get incredibly hot, and something is definitely going to catch fire.
Because a magnifying glass doesn't create the heat, right?
Right, you're right.
It just concentrates what's already there until it combusts. And Pluto operates the exact same way. It forces the insecurities hidden in our shadows into the glaring light. And the source highlights a very specific, uncomfortable awareness that surfaces during this time. It's the realization that we have been performing for approval.
Yeah, the forecast states we become aware that we are, quote, more invested in being chosen than in being respected.
That is such a huge distinction.
It really is.
Yeah.
I mean, think about how that manifests in your own life. Like, how many times have you nodded along in a meeting just to be seen as a team player?
Oh, yeah.
Or how much of a first date is just a curated performance to make sure the other person likes you?
Right, because when you are invested in being chosen, you are inherently giving your power away to the chooser.
Yep.
You are molding yourself, hiding your flaws, performing this role just to ensure you aren't abandoned. It's a survival mechanism.
Totally.
But it is fundamentally unauthentic, and over time, it just drains you.
It is so exhausting. You're basically constantly managing your own PR.
Exactly. And what this forecast is pointing out is that the Venus-Pluto opposition triggers a fundamental crisis of authenticity. It forces you to recognize these outdated patterns, these projections, and all these efforts to control how others see you, and you realize they are suffocating you.
Yeah.
Our desires and our self-worth are calling for a revival, basically demanding that we break free from the need to possess or be possessed.
But taking off that mask is deeply uncomfortable. Like, the forecast warns that this realization can actually make people itch for a fight.
So, for sure.
When you start seeing that you've been performing your whole life, you get angry. You start seeing secrecy and social power struggles everywhere.
Well, the ego fights back. It wants to maintain the power dynamic because the dynamic feels safe, even if it's completely toxic.
Yeah. And what really blew my mind is how today's source translates this exact internal psychological crisis into a physical place.
It's brilliant.
The abstract tug-of-war becomes super concrete. So, welcome to Vanthe, the setting for the StoryScope, the Cathedral of Mirrors.
Vanthe is such an evocative setting. It's this city hanging beneath a dead star, suspended over an abyss like a massive chandelier.
Yeah, the atmosphere is instantly oppressive, but like incredibly beautiful at the same time. You've got these towers carved from black crystal and bone-white alloys.
And perpetual storms of silver ash falling over the city.
Right. Rivers of violet light flowing through transparent streets and drones drifting around like mechanical moths.
It's very cinematic.
Totally. But the defining feature of the landscape isn't actually on the ground. It's floating above the city.
Thousands of mirrors, literally the size of cathedrals.
Cathedral-sized mirrors. And they are relics of an ancient civilization. Nobody remembers who built them, and obviously nobody dares destroy them.
Right.
And here's the crucial mechanism of this world. These massive mirrors do not reflect appearances. They reflect desires.
This is the direct physical manifestation of the Venus-Pluto astrology we were just talking about.
Ah, yes.
Venus represents desire, and Pluto represents power. So for centuries, these mirrors have whispered back to the citizens what they most want to hear. And that is how power functions in Vanthe. It's not through armies or brute force, it's through longing.
Wow. Controlling a population by constantly validating their deepest cravings and insecurities.
Yep.
I mean, if you think about it, it's the ultimate algorithmic control. Like if a social media platform knows exactly what you want and feeds it to you endlessly, you never look away. You are completely managed.
That's a perfect modern comparison. It is the ultimate Venus-Pluto power dynamic. If I control what you desire, or if I can supply the validation you crave, I control you entirely.
Yeah.
You don't need a police state if everyone is willingly addicted to their own reflection.
That is so dark. And if the city runs on longing, someone has to control the supply.
Which brings us to Cassian Vale.
Cassian.
He is the wealthiest man in Vanthe. He owns Orbital Industries, but his real leverage comes from being the keeper of one of the largest desire archives in existence.
Right. He literally hoards the data of what people want.
Hoards it.
He is the complete embodiment of the Pluto archetype.
Yeah.
Like the text describes him wearing a black coat shimmering with microscopic circuitry.
Very cool look. And his smile is dangerous, not because it is cruel, but because it knows exactly what the person looking at him wants. He is a master of psychological leverage.
And then we have Lyra Voss, an expert Cassian, summons to his headquarters, the Obsidian Exchange, and their history perfectly embodies the relationship tension and the power struggles from the astrology forecast we talked about.
Yes.
Because they were former partners, then they were rivals, and now there's something far more complicated.
Neither trusts the other, and neither has managed to forget the other either. The combination is just exhausting for both of them.
Yeah, they're caught in this gravitational pull, this really magnetic, obsessive attraction that Venus opposite Pluto warns about. They are entirely wary of each other's power. So the stage is perfectly set for the astrological transit to shatter their reality.
And shatter it does. The entire system gets thrown off its axis when Cassian summons Lyra to a balcony overlooking the city.
Right.
And he hands her a crystalline data shard. One of the ancient mirrors has awakened and totally shifted its function.
Yeah, Cassian shows her footage of a mirror floating over the northern district.
Yeah.
And beneath it, thousands of people are gathered, and it is absolute chaos.
Total panic.
People are weeping, fighting, confessing crimes, ending relationships on the spot, starting revolutions. The footage actually ends with a woman staring up at the mirror and just screaming.
Which is wild because Lyra assumes everyone is just seeing themselves and their desires,
Very good
right?
picket.
So she asks what the woman saw to cause such a horrific reaction.
And Cassian tells her, he says, she saw who she truly was. Right. The mirror is no longer reflecting what people want to see. It is reflecting the absolute truth.
The mirrors have completely transitioned from the comforting illusions of Venus to the unearthing, buried reality of Pluto.
Okay, I actually need to push back on this for a second.
Sure.
Why is the truth treated like a weapon here? Because shouldn't seeing the truth be a relief? Like, we always hear the phrase, the truth will set you free.
Right.
So why are people screaming and starting riots just from seeing reality?
It goes right back to the psychological core of the astrology forecast we discussed. The truth is only a relief if you aren't currently surviving on a diet of illusions.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Right. If your entire life, your social status, your relationships, and your fundamental self-worth are built on a performance.
On that desperate need to be chosen, like we said earlier.
Exactly. If you're built on that need to be chosen, then the truth isn't just information. The truth is an existential threat.
It destroys everything.
It dismantles the ego's entire survival mechanism. Truth can destroy entire civilizations if those civilizations are built on a foundation of lies.
That makes so much sense. Let's look at what happens when Lyra and Cassian actually go to look in this awakened mirror themselves, because it perfectly illustrates your point.
Yeah, let's do it.
They stand beneath this massive structure, looking like liquid mercury stretching across the sky.
Right.
Lyra looks up, and she doesn't see her physical reflection. She sees an endless stage.
Right. She is standing on it, smiling, performing, winning applause from a faceless crowd.
The mirror peels apart every single decision, every achievement, every sacrifice she's ever made. And it isn't revealing what she had done. It is revealing why.
The why is the hardest part to face.
Yeah. And the why is that her entire life was devoted to being chosen. Chosen as brilliant, chosen as worthy. Even her rebellion had often been a performance. Imagine the terror of that, realizing your very identity. Even the parts of you that you thought were defiant and independent were just another way of begging for validation.
It's the uncomfortable awareness the astrology warned about made completely visible.
Yeah.
And Cassian's experience is just as devastating, particularly because of the vast power he wields over the city. When Lyra asks what he saw, his confidence is entirely fractured.
Completely gone.
He spent decades believing he wanted power and control, but the mirror shows him the truth. He was just a frightened boy who thought hoarding power would stop people from leaving him.
Man. So Cassian's wealth, his archives, his dangerous smile,
Yeah.
none of it was strength. It was a barricade built by a terrified child to prevent abandonment. The truth strips away the romance of power and reveals the wounded psychology beneath it.
They're both forced into the emotional honesty mentioned in the forecast, completely bypassing all their usual defenses.
Yeah, the personal revelations are profound, but the mirror isn't done. Like, the transit has to affect the entire society, right?
Scales up quickly.
The mirror brightens, and then the silver surface darkens until it resembles a hole in reality itself. It starts digging deeper, beneath wants, beneath fears, beneath every carefully maintained illusion. And it actually breaches the city's networks and initiates a massive data dump.
Oh yeah, people all across Vanthe start receiving transmissions directly on their neural implants. Private messages, hidden accounts, financial manipulations, blackmail archives, corrupt agreements, everything.
Every secret buried in the city surfaces simultaneously. It's basically a cosmic WikiLeak of the human soul.
I love that phrase.
Every ugly, controlling thing people have done to maintain their illusions is suddenly just out in the open. The ruling families panic, executives flee, politicians resign, and relationships shatter.
The fallout is immediate.
The entire system of control sustaining the city begins collapsing in real time.
Well, because the system was the secrets.
Right.
The system was the blackmail and the hidden desires. Once that architecture of longing is exposed to the light, it just crumbles.
And as the riots threaten the central districts and sirens are echoing everywhere, Cassian is watching from a control chamber. He tells Lyra they want a war. And Lyra replies, of course they do. It's easier than self-reflection.
Which is such a brilliant line. When faced with the unbearable pain of our own flaws, our own manipulations, and the hollow nature of our performances, human beings will instinctively choose violence and chaos.
Because a war gives you an external enemy.
Exactly. As long as you are fighting an external enemy, you don't have to look inward. Self-reflection forces you to realize that you are the architect of your own suffering.
Humanity hasn't changed much in 10,000 years, has it? The old patterns, control, possession, status, approval, fear, they fight violently to survive. They resist the collapse. The mirror offered no comfort, only truth. And truth is agonizing.
It aligns perfectly with the warning that the ego doesn't surrender quietly. The resistance to transformation is always explosive.
But the story doesn't end with just a riot, thankfully. There's a shift, a revival.
Yes.
Lyra looks out the observation window down at the streets, and she notices something changing in the crowd. The initial shockwave of exposure begins to settle. They aren't fighting anymore. They're talking.
They are arguing, confessing, listening. The process is really messy, but something new and alive begins emerging from the wreckage.
The people of Vanthe start choosing honesty over performance, respect over approval, connection over control. They're doing the incredibly hard work of integrating the truth.
It's beautiful, really.
Yeah. Cassian actually asks Lyra if she thinks they'll succeed. And her answer is so grounded, she says, I think they'll fail many times, but they'll keep trying.
Because it's not a magical instant fix. Healing from a lifetime of illusion takes time.
Yeah. And this brings us to the visual payoff of all this intense internal work. Dawn finally pierces the endless storm clouds over Vanthe. Golden light touches those black crystal towers. And for the first time in centuries, the great floating mirrors reflect sunlight instead of human desire.
The natural world returns once the artificial layer of longing is removed.
Yes. And then the awakened mirror shatters. It doesn't happen violently, but beautifully. 1,000,000 silver fragments drift across the sky, falling like stars.
What an image.
As these fragments descend through the morning light, every single person in the city looks at the shards and sees their own unvarnished reflection.
Not the person they wished to be, not the person society or their partners wanted them to be, simply themselves.
Yeah.
For many, it was the most frightening sight they had ever witnessed, but for others, it was the beginning of true freedom.
Shedding our performances, acknowledging our need for control, and facing our deepest insecurities is an incredibly frightening, messy process. It literally feels like the world is ending.
But maintaining the illusion is a prison. Facing the truth, no matter how uncomfortable it is the only actual path to genuine connection.
Wow.
The structures we build to protect ourselves eventually become the structures that trap us.
As we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with a final thought to mull over. We spent a lot of time talking about these massive mirrors. The lore tells us they were relics of an ancient, forgotten civilization, accepted as a permanent fixture of the sky. But think about the implication there.
Yeah, if the ancient creators originally built these constructs to reflect human desire, to be the ultimate tool of comfort and control, but somehow, thousands of years later, they possessed a hidden mechanism that eventually evolved or broke down to expose absolute truth.
What does that imply about the inevitable lifespan of our own carefully constructed illusions? Even the most perfectly engineered systems of self-deception have an expiration date. Eventually, the mirror cracks. So if you were standing in the streets of Vanthe, and one of those falling silver fragments landed in your hands right now, showing you not the angle you've practiced, not the version of yourself you want the world to see, but the hidden, raw why behind your actions. Would you have the courage to look, or would you close your eyes?
A profound question to take with you.
Definitely something to think about the next time you catch your own reflection. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We'll catch you next time.